Hi traders, this is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Wednesday, the 21st of August. All right, now as we come into, it's pretty early doors in the Asian session. It's a good time to get things organised, and that's primarily to get this done. There has been no significant changes in the currency pairs. If anything, Euro, I wouldn't say it's quite back trading sideways, but it has the current drift lower, which it's just been edging down each day, has stalled as the Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has resigned. Looks like a bit of a destabilisation of that far right. So basically, I think that could be pro-Euro, and that's why we've seen the Euro bounce. I mean, it's only gone up 30 points. No one's really sort of buying Euro. I mean, there's no reason to buy it. You think unrest in Italy would give it a bit of a negative sentiment, but the initial fallout of that was a little bit positive for Euro. Now, today's market conditions, well, we've still got pretty good market conditions. Normal markets, normal liquidity, calm markets, that's all well and good. Of course, the dreaded, it's like the dreaded Pirate Roberts. We've got the core market drivers, okay? These things don't go away just at the moment. Brexit and the US-China trade situation. Don't forget Brexit, we've got October 31st as the deadline. So hopefully that gets, they just either walk away or do a deal, because then we can get on with trading sterling properly. The rest of the major pairs here now, I don't see any major significant changes at all from the analysis from Monday. Okay, if anything, the Aussie's just drifting sideways, and on the dailies, it's losing a bit of flavour. The Kiwis are also drifting sideways, and this is more of a case. If I just show you the charts of where you get sideways moving markets, and I've left the Aussie chart here in particular to show you what happens. Okay, you have this sort of down move, then it starts trading sideways, and we have these structured support and resistance lines. And when there's no momentum in the market, it usually sort of breaks to the top side or just drifts through it, and then to the downside, and then keeps trading sideways. That is a typical sideways move where we're lacking fundamental, macroeconomic fundamental momentum. Right? There's no momentum in the market. Like the Kiwi. Okay, a week or so ago, the Kiwis give us, very negative sentiment, cutting rates by 0.5%, more than expected. It's drifting lower. Now it's just trading sideways. You can see once again, it is tracking this resistance line. No one's really going to buy, but no one's looking to really sell it here either, right? So we've got a bit of a situation where we are getting into a bit of a wait and see situation with a lot of these pairs. Exactly the same thing with that sideways moving market through with dollar yen as well. Okay, breaks the resistance. It's above the cloud. Now we're just trading sideways through the cloud. And it's all part and parcel of these markets which lack overall fundamental direction. All right, here's that Euro move. Back trading sideways, but still, I mean, you got to think it's still going down. It's at 111, and we've just come down from 112. So to me, until it gets probably above, 111.20, I would be considering the downside is still the direction. Sterling, well, it's popping its head up, right? So there's all sorts of weird things happening in the UK with Brexit, but it is staying within recent ranges. But we have seen a good 100-point move pop again. To me, if I just show you this quickly, I was just having a look doing the analysis. Sterling, it looks like there's a pretty good chance. Now, this is the daily trend line, and you can see the price action here, how it's really stalled. Obviously around 120.5, and this is obviously on the daily chart, so it's got a little bit more strength and credibility. But I'm starting to look at it, and this is where your common sense comes into play. It's like just above 122.09. See how it's just been below here? It did pop there initially, but it's been below there. I wouldn't be surprised to see a whole bunch of stop losses, buy orders just above 122.10. Okay. It looks like if it gets above there, there's going to be a run up towards 123.5. It's got pretty good, it just looks like it in my experience, a build-up of pressure on the downside there that really may come through with something good. Now, just looking at dollar CAD, manufacturing sales numbers out of Canada yesterday, not as bad as expected, and this is what we get. Really convoluted price action. It's really hugging that resistance trend line. Once again, like a lot of the other pairs, we've seen some moves in these currencies, and no one at this point is ready to take it on to the next level, whether it's up or down, right? And this is where you got to piece together, once again, where's the direction going to come from? Well, today the direction is going to come from actually a really good thing is the Canadian CPI data. All right, so this is a much heavier hitting. This is probably the heaviest number. I mean, the employment numbers gets a lot of noise, but the CPI is structurally tied to the hip of the central bank, and this is why it's very important. This is where we may see some sort of significant move. And if I just take you back to dollar CAD just for a second, to me it's slightly elevated. It's come a fair way. And if we look at oil, where oil is now back at $56. Okay, so oil, it's sort of trading sideways. If anything, starting to rally a bit. We get really strong Canadian CPI numbers. We should get a move back down towards 132.40. Okay, same time, if we get really weak numbers, I tell you what, there's got to be still some residual stops above 133.30, 40, and we may see it spike to the top side. But I like the fact when dollar CAD moves with oil. So to me, stronger numbers does more for me because it goes with that overall direction of oil. All right. So outside of the Canadian CPI numbers, we also have the first of the housing numbers out of the States. So keep an eye on that. Of course, the FOMC minutes is going to be the main game. Right, we're going to wait till the end of the day. But, what we're looking for is a little bit more detail from Jerome Powell and the Fed around, what they were trying to achieve at the last meeting. Now, they've already put out some data, or not data, some articles and things out there saying, look, the idea of cutting rates wasn't to fight like headwinds. It was to fight headwinds. It wasn't to try and stop this imminent recession, which everyone seems to be sort of fixated on, particularly the media outlets, right? Everyone's sort of talking recession. I'm pretty sure it's, we're not in a recession sort of phase, not in the US anyway, that we could be in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, everywhere else. But you know what? This seems to be going okay. But we'll find out more details in those minutes, and that's the key focus. So we've got two really big numbers coming out, the Canadian CPI and the FOMC minutes, and these two things have the potential to really light up especially the dollar pairs, and in particular dollar CAD, right? So if we get, say, for instance, hypothetically, we get really strong CAD CPI and we get some sort of dovish comments out of the Fed, well, I'll tell you what, dollar CAD's going to be a couple of 100 points lower and vice versa. So really focus on dollar CAD. That's going to be a big pair for the North American session. Euro, that Italian political story, another geopolitical event in there. It's only tiny at this stage, but that could come back to play with Euro as well. And the other pairs, well, you know what? They're just going to be drifting around today, waiting for that next bit of momentum to give them a kick either to the top side or downside. To me, I always focus on the core fundamental driver, which is the central bank, and Euro, Sterling, Aussie, and Kiwi. That's all down at this point. So I'm waiting for opportunities to get short those pairs. Okay, Sterling, well, that's a bit tricky. Aussie's lost its mojo. Kiwi still got some, but it needs something either out of New Zealand or the US to give it another kick, because at the moment it's just drifting sideways. All right, guys, that's it from me. Have a good trade day. Cheerio.